Hey guys, it's Kamikaze Studios here, and I'm sure a question that's on a lot of your minds right now is what is next for Six Flags Great Adventure after the 2024 season? The park is getting a ton of investments for the 2024 season, like Flash Vertical Velocity, Savannah Sunset, the refurb of Log Flume and Big Wheel. There's a lot of stuff going on at the park for 2024, but that does not mean that there's not going to be a ton more going on in years to come. So in this video, I'm going to be going through my 5-year plan for Great Adventure. This is taking a look at realistically what the most likely options are for the next 5 years at the park from 2025 all the way until 2029. Now, obviously, the years that are closer to now are going to be a little easier to predict and have more specifics on because we have a pretty good idea of what direction the park is going in. But as we get closer to the years like 2029, it's going to be a little trickier. And of course, a lot of these are going to be shots in the dark because it's just way too soon to know what the park is going to do in 5 years. I'm sure the park themselves don't even know what it's going to look like in 5 years, especially with the merger coming up. And with regards to the merger, I do have 1 or 2 things that relate to the merger in this 5-year plan, but I'm not really focusing on that too much because I want to mainly make this about Great Adventure and not the broader company of Six Flags. So with all that being said, let's get started with 2025. Now, obviously 2025 has been a year that everyone has been looking forward to at the park because they are heavily rumored to be getting a brand new roller coaster. And I firmly believe that will be happening even with Flash opening this year. Flash was a last minute addition and was never meant to be the big 50th anniversary coaster for the park. The big one was always coming, and now it is coming in 2025, and my best guess is that it's going to be a brand new multi-launch coaster. Now, I know a lot of people thought maybe it'd be a Giga. I'm throwing that rumor out the window. I definitely think it's going to be a new multi-launch coaster. As for who it could be by, I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 different manufacturers, and those are Intamin, Vekoma, and Zamperla. Intamin because they are best known for their multi-launch coasters. You look at rides like Velocicoaster and others that have been built recently, and they're super successful. They have great capacity, they're very comfortable, they're amazing rides, and I think something like that would work phenomenally at Great Adventure. Vekoma is also a really good manufacturer, especially as of late. We see a lot of their great projects over in Europe, and we're even getting one of them in 2024 at Great Adventure in the form of Flash. Now, Zamperla may come off as a bit of a surprise, but they're currently working on 2 new projects. They have the project up at Playland in Vancouver and, of course, Top Thrill 2, as well as unveiling a ton of other models that they have currently been working on. And I think Zamperla is going to wind up finding major success. As for their 2 coasters that are opening in 2024 release, I think they're going to be really successful, and I think Zamperla has a pretty strong future going forward with their new projects. With this being a project that we know a little more about than some of the other ones that are going to come later, it is a little tricky to pick specifics because it could really be any way. I personally would much rather see an Intamin than any of these others, but I do think Vekoma and Zamperla may be more likely. Vekoma and Zamperla are probably cheaper than Intamin, and with the merger coming up and a lot of uncertainty around what will happen to the parks, I think they'd rather go with a little bit of a cheaper option. Even though I do think Intamin would be better, I have a feeling they're probably going to sway more towards Vekoma or Zamperla, but don't count Intamin out. I'd love to see a ride like Soaring with Dragon or Velocicoaster come to the park. As for where it would go, my best guess would be in the arena plot. We've been looking at this plot for years now, and they already demoed the stage, but they do have the rest of it up as of the last time we were able to see it, so I'm not sure what the future holds for that. It could go pretty much anywhere else in the park. There's a ton of places where they could put this new coaster, but I think the best spot from a logical standpoint would be in the arena. In addition to all of this, I could see Great Adventure finally going year-round. This year, for 2024, we saw the shortest off-season we have ever seen for the park, and I have a feeling that they're trying to push to go year-round. Realistically, they probably could pull it off. New Jersey definitely does get its fair share of snow, as we've seen recently, but at the same time, the weather isn't terrible, and they could easily keep a few attractions open throughout the year, and I think with the park rebranding themselves as Great Adventure Resort, I think they're definitely going for more of that all-year-round vacation-style approach, and I think the best way they could start approaching that is with making the park year-round. I think that would be really successful. People will definitely keep going as long as they know the park is open. And in addition to this, I also expect Nitro to finally get its long-awaited repaint. It keeps getting pushed off due to budgetary restraints because they have other projects going on, but I do think that 2025 will finally be the year we see Nitro get its fresh coat of paint. More than likely, it'll be blue and gray or blue and black, some kind of combination like that. matching the trains, because the trains look really good. And hopefully we'll see the queue revamped a little bit now that they'll have a little bit more time to work on it. But those are all of my current predictions for 2025. This is definitely the most likely to change, as we're going to see a lot of new stuff come out about the project for 2025 throughout 2024. So definitely expect to see more videos on this project, because I don't think this is definitely the final approach that they're going to go for with this project, but we still have plenty of time to see how that goes. Moving on to 2026. This is definitely going to be a little more of an off year. This is going to be more of a year for the park to look at what they already have and improve it as much as they can. So I definitely think we could expect to see a new hotel come 2026. Like I said, with the whole Great Adventure Resort thing, I think the next logical step, in addition to making the park year-round, is to add an on-site hotel, because they do have Savannah Sunset, but that's pretty expensive and it's a bit of a different type of overnight stay experience compared to what you'd get out of a hotel. And I think Great Adventure desperately needs an on-site hotel, and it would work great for 2026. In addition to that hotel, I could see the parking lot being reconfigured, and along with that, the front entrance being renovated, not including the security booth, because that was already renovated in 2022. I'm talking the actual entrance where the ticket booths are and all that. I could definitely see that getting a revamp. And the parking lot has always been a bit of a mess in terms of getting in. It's a little bit of a confusing setup. Definitely a lot of instances where car accidents can happen very easily in that lot, so I could definitely see them reconfiguring it. In addition to this, there's some other smaller enhancements around the park. I could see Twister being removed come 2026. There were rumors that it would be closed ahead of 2024, but that is obviously not going to be the case because they haven't announced anything. I could see it closing even in 2025. Just the problem with Twister is that there's really not many rides like it around. I'm pretty sure it's the only one left in the United States. So it really doesn't have a very bright future ahead at the park, because it really just isn't that popular anymore and it's not around as much as it used to be. So I think that's definitely going to be on the chopping block. And of course, with the parachutes being removed, that will open up a nice plot of land for them to work with on the boardwalk. And I don't think they're going to do anything with that immediately. I think they're going to hold off until what you see a little later on in this timeline. But in addition to that, I could see a small flat ride being added next to Justice League, whether it's on the side of Flash or the side of Dark Knight and Wonder Woman. Either way, I could see a new ride being added. I've always thought they could use the chiller building, the exploratorium, whatever you want to call it, that they now use as a VIP lounge. I always thought it'd be a great spot for an indoor attraction, kind of like Cyborg Hyperdrive at Six Flags New England. I'd love to see something like that go in there if they decide to do away with the VIP experience. In addition to that, I could see Skyway and Skull Mountain getting refurbed, both of which I think definitely need it. Skyway has been operating since 1974. It's a park original, and I think they're going to do everything they can to keep it operating in whatever capacity they can. And in addition to that, Skull Mountain has definitely seen better days. It's not really in its best state. It doesn't have all of its effects working. And I definitely think it'd be nice to see some effects added back, maybe the ride worked on a little bit, just to see it get some love. I'd much rather see it get a refurbishment than get completely torn out. And it is getting a little old. At this point in 2026, it'll be 30 years old, so it's definitely going to be getting a little long in the tooth. So I think for the 30th year of Skull Mountain, they should do a nice refurbishment to it. And in addition to that, we have one of the things that relate to the merger. I could see them retheming Junior Thrill Seekers to Camp Snoopy. The reason I say Camp Snoopy and not Planet Snoopy is because I think Camp Snoopy could actually work really well with the Pine Barrens theme of Jersey Devil, and I think down the line we could see that enhanced a little more, which again you'll see in the timeline later. But I think they're going to try to want to incorporate more IPs, and the only IP that comes from Cedar Fair, which Six Flags doesn't have, is the Peanuts characters and Snoopy, and I definitely would like to see that area themed to Camp Snoopy, because personally I would rather see it be themed to that than what it currently is as Junior Thrill Seekers. But that's everything for 2026. Now moving on to 2027, we have another coaster year. This is going to be the Golden Kingdom overhaul with a brand new Vekoma Family multi-launch coaster, a new restaurant, the removal of Splashwater Oasis, and a Kingda Ka repaint. So the Vekoma Family multi-launch coaster, I was kind of between a bunch of different coaster ideas, because realistically there's a lot they could do with that space. And this wouldn't really be fully inhabiting where Rolling Thunder was. It wouldn't stretch too far into Plaza del Carnaval. It would use that area next to Zumanjaro and kind of weave its way through. Originally, I was looking at doing an RMC makeover of Rolling Thunder, kind of reborn, but Realistically, I don't think that's the approach they would go for. At this point, they've added thrill coaster after thrill coaster after thrill coaster. They could probably use a family coaster, and I think this is their best option. Look at a ride like Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. That ride looks amazing, and I'd love to see something like that come to Great Adventure, maybe even with some theming. They could very easily do some temple, jungle type theming with this attraction, and in addition to that, a new restaurant, maybe a couple new little flat rides over there would be really, really cool. And of course, they could have it start over by where Splashwater Oasis currently is. That's been waiting to be removed for a while now, and I think it's long overdue, so they could get that out of there finally. And they could give Kingda Ka a repaint while they're at it. I know that's easier said than done because repainting Kingda Ka is quite the task, but I think eventually they're going to have to do it, so why not do it when you're focusing on the Golden Kingdom for the whole year anyways. Now I am going to address the elephant in the room right now, which of course is Kingda Ka. A lot of people do think that it could be receiving a makeover similar to that of Top Thrill 2 in the near future. Personally, I don't see it. I think they're going to try to keep Kingda Ka the way they can, and when it really becomes necessary, maybe they will go that route. But for the sake of this video, I am assuming that Kingda Ka will remain open and will not get that treatment, hence why it's getting a repaint, because they wouldn't repaint it right before they're going to close it and change it up anyways. So that's the way I feel about it personally. I know some people may disagree, but that's alright. Now, that's it for 2027. Moving on to 2028, we're going to be focusing on the Pine Barrens area of the park. I'm going to put a new flat ride between Jersey Devil and Roaring Rapids. Maybe something like an S&S Scream and Swing. I think that would work really great over there. Or maybe even some flyers would work nice too. And retheme the rapids to fit into the Pine Barrens area. Along with this, they could revamp that whole area along with Camp Snoopy to give it more of a woods type feel. They could even give Nitro a bit more of a Pine Barrens-esque backstory. And I think overall that whole area could definitely do with some extra theming. And I think that would really complete the Jersey Devil edition, because Jersey Devil's area itself looks really nice. And I think if they expand that kind of vibe out further towards Roaring Rapids and Nitro and all of that, I think that would make the area look really, really good. Kind of make it look similar to what it did as Adventure Rivers, but instead of being themed after more of a Congo, theme it to the woods and Pine Barrens. I think that would work really, really well for the area. And I've always said ever since Jersey Devil was built that they could definitely use another new ride next to Jersey Devil to kind of complete the area. And I think adding another flat ride would be really, really good for that area. And finally, we come to 2029. I have the least amount of stuff in here for this year because, like I said at the beginning, as we get further along, I have less and less definite ideas. But for 2029, I have Green Lantern being removed and a new dive coaster being built on the boardwalk area, with the boardwalk area kind of being rethemed. So out of all the coasters in the park, Green Lantern is the one I think would be next to get removed. I don't really think it would happen anytime soon, but for the sake of this video, I think eventually they're going to see that it's not the most popular, it's not the most comfortable. They can't convert it to a sit-down coaster because they already have Medusa, and they would pretty much be the same ride at that point. So I could see them getting rid of it because it's going to be getting close to its service life anyways, and putting a brand new B&M dive coaster there, make it really big, have a strong presence, use up the area that Twister and Parachutes had, and retheme that whole area. As to what, I'm not too sure. I've always thought they should retheme it back to an Air Force kind of theme. They used to have that kind of theme over there, and I always thought that was the best theme that area had. So if they could restore that, personally, I'd love to see Superman get rethemed or just removed entirely. So I don't think that's realistically going to happen because Superman is a really popular attraction, but I do think a retheme could happen realistically. We also don't know what's going to happen with the DC characters at the Six Flags parks in 5 years from now. For all we know, they could wind up losing the licensing and then they got to retheme everything. We don't know what's going to happen, but realistically, I don't think that will. I think they're going to build a dive coaster there, or really any other kind of coaster. I just put a dive coaster because it's going to be right on the parking lot, and that'll definitely have a really big presence to people when they first come to Great Adventure. They'll be like, wow, look at that ride. That looks impressive. But with that being said, that is my tentative 5-year plan for Great Adventure. Of course, I don't expect to be right on everything. I think some things are definitely things the park needs and will get. Other things are kind of shots in the dark, but they're still based in some semblance of realism. So if you guys agree with some of my picks for the next 5 years at Great Adventure, let me know down in the comments. I do intend on doing the next 5 years after this at some point in the future. Problem is, it's very hard to predict what the park's going to look like in 10 years from now. For all we know, the park could be bulldozed and turned into houses. We really don't know. But If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon to Hollywood Studios. Goodbye, guys.